less familiar with that organization, but much more familiar with there's an organization for divorce that I use quite often. Like if I was ever at a time like that together, well, they go into how do you do it, how you can like write a guess, and how do you make sure the whole information is correct and like resources for divorce, basically. They don't do a lot out there. Different types of organizations, but for us, it's like if you want to get who what you need to do, and you're yeah, it's like I say they're gatekeeping it. Yeah. I have an extra one up here if you need it. Just, I don't know why, but I got two. Oh, wait, should one right now? Staying warm out there? Clearly. Hi, my honey. You're so sparkling cute in your little snowflake. How are you doing? Are we all giving hugs? Yeah, I mean, there's like 8 of us here, so. Oh, we don't have to have a no, we gotta go. Everybody go home. Those grab people. Yeah. My parents are on Zoom, so we do have a meeting. Yeah, fun stuff. On the team. Yeah, I'm coming. It's coming up. I feel like I haven't quite recovered from the holidays, honestly. So I'm like, I still don't know how to say we are. Oh, we know it. We have a break since June. Yeah, since was over. It was the end of October, and then you know, I did Heshbon, my favorite month of the year. So one of my colleagues was getting a haircut when New York fun, and I wore Heshbon, and I was like, I love that shirt. I thought about a month before I came here, and I was good memory, Ted. Good memory. Uh-huh. Shabbat achim gam yachad, hine ma tov u'manayim. Shabbat achim gam yachad, hine ma tov u'manayim. Shabbat achim gam yachad, hine ma tov u'manayim. Shabbat achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, Shabbat achim gam yachad.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. We made it. Shabbat Shalom. I'm so glad to see you all here in the sanctuary and here at home. I'm glad you're joining us. As we welcome Shabbat this week, in this kind of cold weather, I find that every day feels I'm trying to get a little cozier and a little cozier, and Shabbat is the perfect excuse for that. So I'm going to invite you for a cozy Shabbat this weekend. Maybe you'll get a chance to rest a little bit, to take a deep breath, and be surrounded by warm blankets and maybe some good friends too. I'm glad we're all together, braving the cold. And if you're at home watching, I hope you are bundled up. We're going to light candles on page 9. If you've got candles at home, I invite you to light them. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. We're going to continue with Shalom Aleichem on page 10. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem LeShalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni LeShalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeitzchem LeShalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So this week, we had the opportunity to host 100 seventh graders yesterday. They can't hear me? Okay, all right. All right, I'll use this. Thank you, Mom. She texted Jan to say that they can't hear me on the live stream. Yeah, that's okay. You know, we'll try a different microphone, see if that works. I also can feel the presence, you know? Yeah. And Jan was so discreet about it, and then I was so loud about it, is the other thing. It is a shocking surprise to literally no one. Okay, we'll try this. Nope. Did you hear that? All right, okay. They can't hear at all, or they can't hear when I'm talking into the microphone? What's the situation, Mom? Let me know. Thank you. I love you. So we had 100 seventh graders in this building yesterday here for the Religious Diversity Journeys experience once again. And it was, of course, incredible. And so much of it reminded me why every week when I finish teaching seventh graders on Sundays, I think, you could not make me go back to 7th grade for $1 billion. There's not enough money in the world that would convince me of that. But it's always a really fun experience to be able to welcome people who maybe had never met a Jewish person before into our sanctuary, and to give them the rundown of what Judaism is and how we observe here at Shir Tikva. And to have 100 7th graders in any one place is a pretty brave thing to do, I think. So I'm very grateful for the soup troupe who really stepped up and fed them all lunch, even when they were, we had pizza and salad, and it was, but we also did apples and honey and challah and hummus, because when we were talking about doing religious diversity journeys through the Interfaith Leadership Coalition, I was telling the board, and Dan Kryza said, well, Esther did that when she was in 7th grade, where they go to all these different houses of worship, and the thing she remembers most is the food. So make sure the food is good. She suggests that we should feed them all brisket. And I said, we're not doing that. I was like, us in what budget are feeding 100 7th graders brisket? So I feel really grateful, and I always feel so proud when I get to show Shir Tikva to people who've never experienced it before. So, and we had one of our own students was here, and he got to feel really proud too. So that was really cute. But it brought me a lot of joy this week, in a time that feels like I'm just grasping for pieces of joy. So I'm still sort of processing it, but the big thing is that they asked a lot of really good questions. And it was pretty inspiring to see what things they were thinking about and how religion shapes their own worldviews. And it really made me feel some hope for the future, which I needed this week. So I'm going to try to pass that on to all of you. Hope for the future of our nation, that these kids are getting this kind of education. I feel really grateful. So we're going to continue with Lecha Dodi, but I just want to share the exciting week that we had. Lecha Dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekavela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekavela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad. Ishmianu el ha-meyuchad, Adonai echad, u'shmo echad, l'shem u'tiferet ve'litchila, lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekavela, lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekavela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki mekor haveracha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshavat chila, lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekavela, lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekavela. Hitoreri, hitoreri, ki va'orech kumi ori, uri uri, shir daveri, kevod Adonai alayech nigla, lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekavela, lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekavela. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam v'simcha u'v'sohola, toch emunei am segula, boi chala, lecha dodi prakala pene Shabbat nekavela lecha dodi likrakala pene Shabbat nekavela yai dai 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 yai dai dai dai. We're going to continue with the Chatzi Kaddish, our prayer of separation between parts. The Chatzi Kaddish is a prayer that not only do we include several times throughout the service, but also is a string of words of praise and a reminder for all of us that even in moments of transition, we can find gratitude. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei Rabba Be'alma divarach hirute v'yamlich malchute Becha yechon uvyomechon Uchaye dechol Beit Yisrael Ba'agala Ba'agala V'zman kariv v'yimeru amen Yehi shmei Rabba mevorach le'olam olal me'olmaya yitbarach Yibarach v'yishtabach v'yibar v'yitrama v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha berichu Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata ta'amiran be'alma ve'imeru amen. I invite you to rise in body or spirit and join together for Baruch Hu. As we bless the source of life, so we are blessed. As we bless the source of life, so we are blessed. And our blessing gives us strength and makes our visions clear. And our blessing gives us peace and the courage to dare. As we bless the source of life, so we are blessed. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. I invite you all to be seated. I'm at the top of page 20. Somewhere at the fringes of night, the shadows of darkness soften, and earth comes alive with hints of light. My heart fills with fresh, bright hope, and the world stirs to give birth to color. Colors are secrets not seen in the dark, like the promise of God when darkness is visible. Creator, you who bring dawn from the darkness, break the used goblets of my yesterdays. Let me find wisdom in the shards and grow in knowledge of your eternal presence. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamariv Aravim. Blessed are you, Almighty One, who makes the evenings fall. Amen. Shema Yisrael, Adonai, Eloheinu, Adonai. Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom alevavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha b'derech u'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotafo b'eineinecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'v'hisharecha. Banner 24. Levan tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem lelohim ani Adonai Elohechem. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha ne'etar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osefele, nora tehilot osefele. Malachutecha ra'u banecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, Ze'eli anu ve'amru, Ze'eli anu ve'ameru, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. Yai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai. We're going to continue with Hashkivenu. Hashkivenu, our prayer for a Sukkot Shalom, a shelter of peace over us, over Israel, and all the world. We continue to pray that. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Oh, guide my steps and help me find my way. I need your shelter now, so rock me in your arms and guide my steps and help me make this day a song of praise to you. So rock me in your arms and guide my steps. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. We are going to turn to page 29. I have been thinking about Dr. Heschel, Rabbi Dr. Heschel, a lot this week. I'll tell you why. But I was reminded once again of his book, The Sabbath. And if you've never read this book, it's a great book, but it's like 70 pages and the densest read. It took me like 6 to 8 months to get through. to really understand all of the little bits. So it's not like a recommendation. It's beautifully written. But I mean, it's not like a book that I read. Like, if I had read it all in one go, I could have done it. You know what I mean? But like, it took me a minute to get through it because I really wanted to process it. And he came up this week in an event that I got to attend that I'll tell you about. But it is through that lens, the way in which he prayed. You know, he's the person who said, I was praying with my feet. That's who Dr. Heschel was. So as we say these words, we remember that prayer can take so many different paths and look like so different for so many different people, and yet it all brings us back to ourselves and our connection. To pray is to regain a sense of the mystery that animates all beings, the divine margin in all attainments. Prayer is our humble answer to the inconceivable surprise of living. It is all we can offer in return for the mystery by which we live. How strange we are in the world and how presumptuous our doings. Only one response can maintain us: gratefulness for witnessing the wonder, for the gift of our unearned right to serve, to adore, and to fulfill. It is gratefulness which makes the soul great. We'll turn to page 51 and rise. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, Elohei Rachel, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Bezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei HaKol Atah Rav Lehoshia, Mechakel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayei HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Berofeh Cholim, Umatzir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Ba'al Gevurot, Umido Melech, Melech Memit Umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah lahachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. I invite you all to continue praying silently. You can stand or sit, whatever feels good for you. ratzon imrefi ve'yon libi lefanecha Adonai tzuri Adonai tzuri ve'goali So this week was full of many events. To be fair, the last like 3 weeks, I did 3 different interfaith Thanksgiving events. Hanukkah, Diwali, I guess is not an interfaith Thanksgiving event, but it was an interfaith event that I thought was really wonderful. And it happened that it fell on neither of those holidays, so it's like the perfect situation, really. But this week, besides this interfaith, having all these kids here, I also went to the Henry Ford for the first time since I was in like 5th grade. I hadn't been to the museum in a long time. And what I remember is the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile is there and the Rosa Parks bus, and that's like basically it. And, you know, I'm not even going to go into the Henry Ford, the guy, because that's really, I cannot touch all the anti-Semitism. I can't do it today. So I'm going to put that down. I'm going to say that and move on. But I was there because they have moved a house from Selma. It's called the Jackson House, and it was the house. You know that famous picture of Martin Luther King watching LBJ's speech, sitting in that chair? It's a very famous photo. It was basically the staging house for all of the things that were happening in Selma. And the reason they decided to do this is because the woman who's the daughter of the people who own that house, she's in her 70s or now, reached out to the museum and said, if we don't do something, the legacy of this place is going to be lost. And the museum's response to that was to decide to move the house up here, and they had to wrap it, and it's fascinating. But the interesting thing about this house is this is the place where Dr. King and the entire community would gather to plan these things, including Rabbi Heschel when he went to march with Dr. King. And it was a really interesting experience because, they're in the process of restoring it, and it turns out, just an aside, it's going to be pink because they're restoring it to the 1965 version, and at that time, it was pink, which I think that's about right. But the history of what that place holds and the way in which this Jawanda Jackson has held on to and kept sacred these memories of her family and their involvement in this movement was so interesting to me. And they had this faith leader breakfast because I think their idea is eventually they're going to want to bring people in to see the house and how can they reach out to the communities and the congregations. So they had my name, and then I was like, here's some other rabbis you might want to invite, as I tend to do. And it was so interesting to hear the way in which their curators and their archivists and all of their people talked about saving this place and what it meant. Because she had been operating it as a museum, a civil rights museum, but it was like a residential street, no parking, and she got maybe 5,000 visitors a year. And they were like, oh, we could do 5,000 visitors in 2 hours on a Sunday if it's nice outside. And it really made me start to think about the thing that has come up in a lot of the Torah this last month is legacy. What are we leaving? What are we keeping? What things are we holding on to make sure to pass to the next generation? So it was a really interesting event. and they're doing a big grand opening in June. The state that it's in now, I can't imagine they're going to finish restoring this house by June, but they're professionals, so I guess they know what they're doing. But the last time they moved a house was in 1982. They haven't done this since then. So I think it's a really interesting project, and our tie to it through Dr. Heschel is something that they are really hoping to get more of our feedback on, and they're developing a curriculum around all of the faith leaders who are there as a reminder that faith allows us to be, through the lens of what we get to have here, allows us to see the world and the ways that we're supposed to act in it. The moral teachings that we get from our tradition and the people who came before us. And I feel so grateful for that legacy. And also, it's a good reminder that there are things that we can leave to other generations and things that we have to do because our Judaism tells us how to treat the stranger, right? 36 times in the Torah it says, welcome the stranger. Not once, 36 times. That's our responsibility. And to be honest, I think we do that pretty well at Shir Tikva. I think that's one of our strengths, is the way that we welcome people. But it's pretty clear. That's a pretty cut and dry one, I think. And the ways in which we can then pass those teachings on to our next generations, I think, is such an opportunity for us. And I was really inspired by Miss Jackson in the way that she, wanted to pass her parents' legacy of activism and civil rights on to other generations of people. And of course, this also made me realize that I have a lot of Detroit history to learn that I still haven't. If you have any book recommendations for that, I would really, yes, we'll talk afterwards. Oh, the history of the Jews of Metro Detroit, excellent. Oh, perfect. I'm realizing there's history here that I'm still missing. So that made me think of what are the other things that I want to keep learning about? Planning to stick around for a while, hopefully. So that's that would be good to know. But also, I'm just so interested in this idea of that she made this phone call and was like, I don't want people to lose this, right? And the stories that she could tell, the pictures that we saw at this presentation of her sitting on she calls him Uncle Martin's lap. That's who she was, right? So that was their relationship. And I'm so fascinated by this. And I've been thinking a lot about, this week's Torah portion is it's about legacy in so many ways, right? We have the reunification of the brothers. Finally, Jacob and Esau find a way to get back together after all this time and all this heartache that Jacob caused. We have the birth of Benjamin, also leaves a legacy. These pieces of things that have happened, that the stories that we tell over and over. And then yesterday, the kids were like, well, why do you keep reading that thing out of a scroll if you have a book? That was mostly the question, right? Why do you keep reading that thing? I was like, well, you mean the Torah? And they were like, yeah, that, right? So that was an actual question that I got. And the answer is, it's tradition and history, but also in our ark, we have the Czech Torah, this Holocaust Torah that somebody saved and preserved for us to read out of because they thought that the words were important enough for us to have. And then I sit with a bar mitzvah kid and they have a Torah portion about leprosy or something else gross. And they're like, what are we doing? I'm like, the wrestling is a part of our heritage. The disagreement is a part of the legacy. And the ability to question is a part of the gift that we give. That was the big thing that I saw yesterday when I kept saying, okay, what other questions, what other things? And I said, part of our tradition is the asking of questions. And we have a whole books and books and books full of people's questions that sometimes they answer their own questions because that's how the rabbis made sure they had jobs, but also because they're other people and they disagreed, and here's the path to disagreement. All of that is part of our legacy. So I've really been, this presentation was lovely, and it was so weird. I mean, I didn't go into the museum. I actually had to go back to work. But some people did go and do the museum stuff. But it made me think wow, the last time I was here, what was I doing? And what matters now? And and wouldn't it be interesting? I think Henry Ford would really be upset that we were all together. I'm not mad about that. But and working towards this was what his legacy was founding, and that's so interesting too, because that's not what he intended. So I've been thinking about legacy a lot and what we're going to leave, and I think the hope that I gathered from these young students yesterday really gave me the sense that building a legacy is possible, and really the impact that we can have on the people who come after us. I mean, all of us are remembering people that we love, who we carry with. I mean, you guys hear me talking about my Bubby and Zadie every other week. I carry them with me. It's a part of who we are. Yeah, we can change legacies, yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you could not hear that because you're online, Dr. Eisenstein was just saying that Henry Ford's children and grandchildren have really know what that legacy and what he was about, and have worked hard to revert or do what they can to change that or understand that in a different way. And I think that's the reason that they have so much of that effort going on at the museum, right? So I'm grateful that we get a chance to think about those things, and especially being with family this past week, it's something that came up again for me. So I hope that I hope I've been able to impart to you some of the hope that I felt after yesterday, and you can carry that around with you too, because I'm certainly going to. We're going to take a moment now to think about all of the people in our community and in the world, in our lives, who are in need of healing of body and mind and of spirit. This evening we are especially thinking of Mike Tutt and David Sloan, Art Scaife and Daniel Zendel, and Mary Cheswick and Rabbi Arnie, Sharon Curran and Dorothy Halprin, Ted Golden, and Steve Rode and Clint McCormick, and Larry Littman and Joel Ben Moshe, and Cindy Silverman, Shani Lewins, and Wendy Demp. If there's anybody else that you're thinking of this evening whose name you'd like to share with our community, who you are praying for their healing, I invite you to do that. And if you're at home, I invite you to say those names aloud in your space. Any kind of healing counts. We'll turn together to page 67. Yishaberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach Imotenu shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Hey Lynn, are you willing to do the announcements even though you're technically not the host trustee today? Because I don't think we have one, so are you okay doing them? Thank you. Lynn has some announcements to share with you all. They're mostly Hanukkah related. Thank you.
Pleasure.
I appreciate it.
Boy, it's short too. On behalf of the Board of Trustees and our members, I'd like to extend a special welcome to all our congregants and anybody visiting us this evening. With the chilly weather upon us, the Soup Troop will be collecting new men's socks, gloves, and little hottie foot and hand warmers. The annual Hanukkah spree is this Sunday at December 7th at 9:15 until noon. Lunch and Learn with Rabbi Elisha, Tuesday, December 9th at noon. And Wednesday, December 17th, Sherry Zedek is hosting a community-wide Hanukkah event with the Maccabees. CST's a partner sponsor. Our annual Hanukkah Latke Cook-Off is Friday, December 19th, and there's a link to sign up on our website. Shabbat Shalom.
Hanukkah's free this weekend, so if you need Hanukkah tchotchkes or candles or knickknacks, other gelt, etc., and the money goes to the youth scholarships, so good cause. Come get your Hanukkah knickknacks, etc. I don't know, decorations, all those things. Every year I think, oh, I definitely have enough candles, and then I never have enough candles, or I have so many candles. Right? There's no other state in between, so I always buy candles from the Hanukkah spree. We are going to conclude with Aleinu this evening. It's on page 78. I invite you all, no, it's not, it's on page 74. I invite you all to rise and join me. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, la'teh gedula le'yotzer b'reshit, shelo asanu k'goy ha'aratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kachem, v'gohor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, Umishtahavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad Ushemo echad. I invite you to be seated for a moment. Isn't it nice that the light goes on every time now? It's pretty good. I am on page 77. After a while, we learn the subtle difference between holding a hand and chaining a soul. And we learn that love doesn't mean leaning and company Intimacy doesn't always mean security. And we learn that kisses aren't contracts and presents aren't promises. And we begin to accept our defeats with our heads up and our eyes straight forward. We learn to build all our roads on today because tomorrow's ground is too uncertain for plans, and futures have a way of falling down in mid-flight. After a while, we learn that even sunshine burns if we ask too much. So, we plant our own gardens and decorate our own souls instead of waiting for someone to bring us flowers. We learn that we really can endure, and that we really are strong, that we really have worth, and we learn with every goodbye. We learn. We are in a period of Shloshim, the first 30 days of mourning for our dear beloved Janice Book, blessed memory. And also, we are in a period of Shloshim for Marilyn LeBoy, mother of Jeremy LeBoy and mother-in-law of Christine, grandmother of Sierra, Skylar, and Caden, an aunt of Sarah and Carrie. She was also the sister of the late Elaine Thorpe. This week we will call the Yartsites the anniversary of the deaths of Rhoda and Egon Brenner, parents of Dr. Dorothy Halprin, Karen Frederick Hills, sister of Sandy Walker, Arthur Haley, father of Sharon Curran, Gus Enguis, father of Penny Kinzer, Dolores Houston, mother of Karen Redmond, Linda Blatt, mother of Paul, Rob, mother-in-law of Faye, Sylvia Zaks, mother of Marilyn West, Bernard Weiner, father of David Weiner, David Lee Rosenberg, brother of Linda Silverstein, Alexander Grinstein, father of Richard Grinstein, and Neil Hoffrichter, a beloved CST congregant. If there's anybody else you're remembering this evening whose name you'd like to share with our community, I invite you to do that. Thank you. We rise and join together for the Kaddish Yatom, the Mourner's Kaddish on page 78. Yitgadal, v'kadash shemei rabbah, ve'alma divarach hirute v'yamlich malchute, v'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael, v'agala uvizman kariv, v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam olamei olmaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudashah b'richu. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, ta'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'ramav. Uyaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. May the source of peace bring peace to all who mourn and comfort to all of you who are bereaved here and everywhere, to which we say, amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, amen. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. I invite you all to be seated and do a little Kiddush and Mosi. Yes. A winter-themed challah cover made by the first and second graders. I like that the moose has ice skates on. It's really nice, Jan. And of course the penguin with the scarf, but every week there's a different one. So this is the debut. It's a good one. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. L'chaim, everybody. And this is homemade challah from Lily. Bless her. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lacha min haaretz. Amen. I'm going to put it out there. I wish you all a Shabbat of peace, of coziness, and of a little bit of hope this weekend. I'm glad you're here. Shabbat shalom, everybody. A little tikvah this weekend, exactly right. That's very good. That's good.